Hello, users of Motorsport-Total.com and Formel1.de to a brand new feature we are running this season. A drink with Eddie Irvine it is, as you can see. The idea is to chat with Eddie about whatever comes up with regards to Formula One in a relaxed atmosphere and having a glass of wine together. Hello, Eddie.
How you doing? I'm tequila on the rocks.
Breakfast of Champions, you just said.
Seems like, yeah.
Let's get started, Eddie. When we discussed doing this together, at first you were not too keen on doing it because you said you're not watching the Formula One races anymore, and to feel prepared to talk about it, you would need to. So it seems you're bored. My question is, have you followed the Barcelona testing that's been going on recently?
No, I think we kind of said that we changed the plan and that I didn't need to follow it that closely. I think it's better that I stand back as a person that's vaguely interested in Formula One and see if it's in a more interesting perspective in that I used to be insanely involved in Formula One where it was my whole life. Even before I was involved in it in a driving way, it was Formula One. I couldn't wait for the races to come. I couldn't wait to read the reports. Now that has completely changed, and I think it's interesting for me to have been and now not be a massive fan of it and see where that takes us. It's a different perspective.
Absolutely. But why is that? What has changed for you?
I think it's lost its rawness. It's a bit like how the world, what do you call this guy, Conor McGregor, the Irish fighter guy, the way they fight compared to the boxing world, it's much more raw, much more less politically correct, more extreme. I think Formula One has lost its extremeness. It's lost its rawness. Now it's this perfectly packaged corporate product that'll turn up in any country that will pay enough money.
Yeah. Actually, have you heard about the Halo system, the cockpit protection that's set to be introduced next year?
Yeah, I actually did see that, and I don't think it's not a bad idea. There's no point people getting killed for no reason. Senna's death obviously was a huge upset for the whole sport, but I think there's been a complete overreaction. Just like one of the things that's really obvious is the swimming pool at Monaco. It used to be the ultimate test, trying to thread a car through there at 120 miles an hour with concrete on one side and concrete on the other, and it was like threading the eye of a needle with 120 miles an hour. And now it's a little curve on the left and a little curve on the right. It's not a challenge anymore. Imola doesn't exist anymore because they bastardized it so much after Senna's accident. But it was beautiful to see the scenery, the crowd. See, it's not one thing doesn't make something amazing. It's a load of things that come together that all add up. The two and the two and the two and the two don't get to 8, they get to 20. And they keep building these circuits with a corner, instead of it being 90 degrees, it's 92 degrees. So it's different than the one that they did last year at whatever insignificant country that they went to. And the punters don't care about that. It's like Montreal, the exit of the chicane before the start finish line.
Yeah.
How many world champions hit that wall?
Yeah.
It's things like that. You can talk about that. It's like Imola disappeared. Now there's no. How can you take away the circuit where the greatest driver that ever was got killed?
Yeah.
You've taken away every year. There's that story, that could be talked about, and that's history. And you can't just keep destroying history and expecting it not to have an impact.
Eddie, another element that I guess is probably why you're not watching it anymore. Drivers and characters. Are there any characters in Formula One at the moment that you think of as characters?
I think we've been saying that. Every generation says that. The new generation has no character. Lewis is a character. He's great for the sport. An amazing driver, and he's out and about. Like, he'll turn up at the opening of a letter. which is good for Formula One because he's getting known outside of the sport. The rest of them, less so. Bernie and CBC have squeezed it too hard for money, which is their job. Their job is to make money for shareholders. So they've done a good job. They've made a ton of dough, but they have compromised the sport. The goose that lays the golden egg is not so healthy.
Yeah. One final one, because we want to keep it short. Bernie was pretty harsh on Formula One recently in the Daily Mail. Have you read the interview when he said he wouldn't go to races?
Well, I agree with him. I wouldn't go to a race either. um, yeah, he's right. And I think he's having a go at the teams because Bernie always takes the piss out of the teams because he thinks they're idiots. And he's probably right in many respects because they allowed him to steal the whole sport financially. It's like qualifying. They're talking about changing this qualifying. I didn't even read the new rules changes because it's just no point. I'm sure it's stupid. But it's like, used to be, you'd be sitting there, nothing would happen. And it was the calm before the storm. And next thing, everybody, boof, went out and hit the track. And there was traffic, there was yellow flags, there was oil going down. And then in the last minute, Senna came out. And that was the moment. That was the orgasm, all the rubbish beforehand. It was just the lead up to the orgasm. And that's all gone now. But it's funny, I was talking to Mika Salo the other day. He turns up at he does the race stewards. He says it's just the old stewards. They want to show their power. They want to show that they still have a job. So they love to come down on the drivers hard. So the drivers can't take the chances. And we can't turn it into a demolition derby. But it's like everything has just gone too far.
Yeah. And it was settled among drivers in earlier years, wasn't it? Eddie, we're running out of time. Thanks a lot for joining. There's just one last thing I want to ask you, asking for a quick answer. Who would you bet on being world champion this season?
I think it's Hamilton. And I think Mercedes have got to get rid of Rosberg. I'm a huge fan of Rosberg. I think he's a great driver, but he's not as good as Hamilton. And it's time that they put someone else there that can give Hamilton a harder time.
All right. Eddie, thanks a lot. Cheers. Hope
Cheers.
you enjoyed your drink.
I did. It's wonderful.
Day, and you guys, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.